I mean, here's the first big red flag, right? This movie does not take advantage of making a joke out of its title. This is called Fast X. Why not just eliminate the AST part in Fast and call it FX? You know, that way they can pay tribute to the overabundance of FX throughout this entire series. Because this is the beginning of the end. You might as well pay tribute to all the predecessors that came before it. No? God, these guys are not fun. Here we are again, Vin Diesel with another family affair. So yeah, Fast X was directed by Louis Leterrier, who brought you The Incredible Hulk starring Edward Norton in the Marvel Universe. Gotta give this guy credit for stepping into some shoes that Justin Lin left vacant. And here he is stepping into one of the most successful franchises in Universal history. So Dom Toretto and his team must now confront the most lethal opponent they've ever faced. Fueled by revenge, a terrifying threat emerges from the shadows of the past to shatter Dom's world and destroy everything and everyone he loves. And this opponent they come across is played by none other than Aquaman himself, Jason Momoa. So yeah, I've had my fair share to say about Fast X going into things, and look, here's the thing. The Furious franchise, it can be cool for a while. Like, if you go into a Fast and Furious movie and you're just expecting to shit all over it, pull that stick out of your ass, number one. Because if you're expecting a story that makes complete total sense and you understand all these characters' motivations and it all ties around this one big conflict, you're not going to get that. The Fast and Furious movies are ultimately successful, I feel like, because of the big budget actors and the gigantic explosions that you get. But if you're looking for story, you're certainly not going to get that with a Fast and Furious movie. And Fast X is pretty much more of the same. I walked out of this theater and I saw the credits start rolling and I was like, that was exactly what I expected. Because yeah, you have these big gigantic explosions and everything like that. You have Dom Toretto surviving these insurmountable odds. And the stunts that these vehicles get into, like 10 minutes into the movie, all these characters should have been dead. But you know, again, you cannot overthink a Fast and Furious movie too much because otherwise you're not going to really have a lot of fun with it. And believe it or not, I feel like this franchise has put out a lot of great movies in the past. Fast 5, I think, is easily the best one of the bunch, where we're introduced to Dwayne Johnson as Luke Hobbs. Its sequel, Fast and Furious 6, amazing action movie in my opinion. Furious 7, I feel like, was a terrific tribute to Paul Walker, rest in peace, and I feel like it was the perfect send-off for the family, if you will. Well, now here we are. This movie is 3 movies way too old and 10 years past its prime. And I'm sitting here like, I just sat through the Fate of the Furious, which was centered around the Vin Diesel-Dwayne Johnson feud that's been well documented. Then you have F9, which came out a couple years ago, which I thought was just downright terrible. But it did introduce you to John Cena as Vin Diesel's brother, Jacob Toretto, because, I mean, Vin Diesel has to have his wrestler in these movies. So now we get this. It's been marketed as the beginning of the end, the Avengers Infinity War of the Fast and Furious saga, if you will. And I gotta say, this movie is better than Fast 9. I'll give you that much. It's not a very high bar to pass, though. Yes, there's like a million different plots going on here. There's something over in Rome. Letty is completely separated from Dom for the majority of this picture. You have Brie Larson stepping in as the daughter of Mr. Nobody, who is played by Kurt Russell in Entries Past. And these actors are doing a good job because, let's face it, I feel like every single person involved in Fast X knows how stupid this has become. Like, everyone is so aware of their surroundings. Like, they know exactly what kind of popcorn movie they're in for. And it definitely looks like everybody's having fun. Yeah, the story is very much a convoluted mess. Yes, you have really shitty dialogue in this movie. What else do you really expect, though? It's a Fast and Furious movie. But one thing I really gotta give this movie credit for, and I'll give the devil's credit where it's due, this has a really great family dynamic in there. No pun intended. Vin Diesel does give a good performance in here, and his dynamic with his son is so sweet. There's a lot of life lessons he's teaching him under ludicrous circumstances. Once again, no pun intended there, Chris, I'm sorry. But I think these two have really good chemistry on screen together. Vin Diesel does give a good performance. Is it Oscar-worthy like I'm hearing he's rumoring to campaign for Best Actor at the Oscars? Absolutely not. You know, especially when you have another Scorsese picture coming up with Leonardo DiCaprio starring in it. When you have Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer coming up in a couple months. Fat odds. But, you know, anything can happen. More ridiculous things have happened at the Oscars anyway. Another thing I gotta point out, John Cena was extremely polarizing in F9, which is normal given who we're talking about. This guy's been loved by half of a crowd all of his career and hated by half of a crowd all of his career. And I feel like him as the villain in F9 really kind of messed with people's heads a little bit, just because we're so used to him being Superman. I, for one, really enjoyed his performance in F9. I know a lot of people said that his performance was non-existent there. I liked it. I think he was one of the shining bright spots of F9, if I could pick a small handful out of it. But Fast X plays much more to John Cena's strengths as an actor, because Jacob Toretto is extremely likable. And you also have a really sweet dynamic between uncle and nephew in this movie as well, because he appears with this young actor in a majority of his screen time. And I think he does really well with the material, I gotta say. But man, oh man, okay, let's talk about Jason Momoa and his larger-than-life performance as our villain Dante. Where has this guy been since Furious 7? Like, my god. Like, there is no way that this guy can exist in real-life circumstances just because his mannerisms and the way he carries himself, it's all so preposterous. Just the fact that how he delivers dialogue, I just couldn't help but, like, laugh out loud in this theater at his antics. And I can't wait to see more of him because Fast X, as has been rumored and confirmed, is not the final Fast and Furious movie. Like, for the love of God. I have been in the camp for the longest time that this series should have ended right after Paul Walker passed away. Furious 7 should have been the last one, and it should have been done dusted, should have sent that family off into the sunset, and that's fine. End the series on a bittersweet note. But this series just keeps on going and going and going. And we have heard that this finale, starting with Fast X, was going to be a 2-part finale. Now we're hearing it's going to be a trilogy. Take a wild guess at how Fast 10 ends. It is probably the most predictable circumstance of an ending you could have ever imagined this year. So yeah, even though this series is way past its prime, I couldn't help but be entertained by a lot of stuff in Fast X. I really enjoyed the family dynamic. Again, there's a lot of really crazy stuff and completely, like, outside the box locations here. I'll give the screenwriters their due. This movie did not feel like it was written by the Fast and Furious subreddit, and they didn't send anybody into space this time. Thank God. They at least learned that lesson. But I mean, aside from a really surprisingly emotionally grounded dynamic between Vin Diesel and his son, John Cena and the little boy in this movie, and Jason Momoa's completely unforgettable villainous turn, this movie is pretty much exactly what you would expect out of a franchise that continues to just keep chugging along. You think you're at the end of the race, but believe it or not, we are very far from the finish line. I'm going to give Fast X a C+. I know that grade might seem really low for some people, and the hardcore fans of Fast and Furious might hate me for that grade, but listen, I thought it was better than F9. I think I'm just, like, worn out from seeing so many of these movies at this point. But this is all just my opinion, of course. Let me know what you thought of Fast X down in the comments section below. What is your favorite entry in the franchise? Who's your favorite character? That's what's great about movie discussion. Nobody has the correct opinion here. We can all discuss things respectfully and in a fun manner. And these videos are a really fun way I get to do that with you guys. And if you're a new viewer, this channel is the place to be if you love talking all things movies in the entertainment realm. So do consider becoming a subscriber, and please tap that like button on your way out. Really helps with the algorithm and helps continue to bring this content to more lovely viewers like you. But guys, y'all are the best. Stay tuned for more reviews very soon. Definitely looking forward to seeing how this Little Mermaid remake shapes out in this upcoming weekend here. Man, you want to talk about polarizing, those Disney live-action remakes. A lot of people love them. A lot of people just flat out despise them, and they don't think they warrant existing. But I'm ready to give this Little Mermaid a chance. So stay tuned for all that and much more. Y'all are the best. And with all that being said, Back Talk, commence.